Why medieval beauty standards were brutal and impossible. You know how today we look back at old beauty trends and cringe? Like, wow, people really plucked off their eyebrows in the 2000s and thought that was hot. Well, imagine that feeling, but crank it up by about 1,000 years. Because in the Middle Ages, beauty standards weren't just a little weird, they were straight up brutal, dangerous, and, honestly, completely impossible for most people to achieve. And the wild part. A lot of these standards weren't just about looking good, they were tied to morality, social status, and even your eternal soul. Yep. Looking beautiful could be seen as proof that you were a good person. Ugly. Clearly God was punishing you for something. So, let's unpack exactly what it meant to be beautiful in medieval Europe, and why the whole thing was an absolute nightmare. Pale skin was everything. If you've ever gone on vacation and accidentally gotten a tan, congratulations. In medieval Europe, you just lowered your social ranking. Pale skin wasn't just a preference, it was a symbol. A sign that you didn't have to work outside in the fields like a peasant. A noblewoman's pale skin told the world, I'm rich, I'm delicate, and I've never even seen a shovel. But here's the catch, not everyone is naturally ghost-level pale. So, how did they get it? They used makeup, and not the nice Sephora kind. We're talking about face creams made with lead, vinegar, and even arsenic. Yep, the stuff that can kill you. And people knew it was dangerous, but the social pressure to look like a porcelain doll was stronger than common sense. Women would cake these mixtures onto their skin, and it would cause sores, skin damage, and, in some cases, actual lead poisoning. Your teeth could rot, your hair could fall out, and your skin would scar, which, ironically, made you need more makeup to cover the damage. It was a vicious cycle, and it could literally kill you. Forehead goals. But not how you think. Today we talk about snatched jawlines or perfect cheekbones, but in the Middle Ages, the hottest thing a woman could have was a massive forehead. Like, not just a little bigger. We're talking about foreheads so tall they looked like they could host a movie screen. And they didn't just wait for genetics to do its thing. Nope. They shaved their hairlines to push them back, sometimes plucking out hair strand by strand. They'd also shave or pluck their eyebrows completely off. Because apparently, nothing says beautiful like looking permanently surprised. Some women even rubbed toxic substances on their scalp to stop hair from growing in the wrong places. And you couldn't just skip this trend. If you were a noblewoman, it was part of maintaining your status. Your forehead wasn't just a forehead, it was a billboard saying, I belong in the elite. Tiny, delicate features. Another medieval obsession was the delicate look, small noses, tiny chins, petite mouths. But unless you were born with those features, good luck changing them. Sure, you could contour with a little soot or powder, but mostly, it was pure genetics. Which meant women who didn't fit the mold. They were often mocked, painted in art as ugly, or just erased from the beauty conversation entirely. There was also a strong link between beauty and virtue. The idea was that a pure, moral woman would naturally be beautiful. So if you didn't meet the beauty standard, well, maybe you were sinful. Yes, people were literally judged on their morality by the shape of their face. Hair, long, blonde, and unrealistic. If you think blondes have had more fun for only the last 100 years, think again. In medieval Europe, golden hair was the ultimate flex. It was tied to religious imagery, think angels and saints in church paintings, and it was associated with purity and high status. The problem? Most people in Europe didn't have naturally bright blonde hair, so they bleached it, using everything from saffron to lye to, in some cases, urine. Yes, you heard that right. Pee. On your head. For beauty. And while these concoctions could lighten hair, they could also fry it completely. A bald patch was not uncommon for women chasing the blonde ideal, which is a little ironic, considering long, flowing hair was also part of the beauty package. The tiny waist myth. Corsets didn't come into fashion until later, but medieval women still aimed for a small waist. Clothing was designed to give that hourglass shape, tight bodices, long skirts, and belts that cinched the waist. The issue. Malnutrition was a huge part of medieval life for most people. Peasants didn't have the luxury of dieting for beauty, They were already on the edge of starvation. And noble women. They often ate less or avoided certain foods to maintain a dainty figure. It wasn't about health, it was about projecting the image of refinement and fragility. Bad teeth were a deal-breaker for the rich. For peasants, dental care wasn't even on the radar. But for the elite, white teeth were highly valued. They used powders made from ground-up charcoal, burnt rosemary, or even crushed gemstones. The problem? Some of these mixtures were so abrasive they destroyed enamel, leading to more dental problems down the road. But if you could keep your teeth looking white, it signaled you had access to better food, better care, and, again, better bloodlines. The impossible standard for men. It wasn't just women suffering under these beauty ideals. Men had their own impossible checklist. They were expected to be tall, broad-shouldered, strong, but still lean. They should have thick, healthy hair, clear skin, and straight, white teeth. And of course, good grooming, even if you were riding into battle. A lot of knights and nobles wore perfumes, oils, and fine clothing to keep up appearances. And while they didn't face the same makeup poisons women did, the pressure to look like the perfect nobleman was still intense. Why it was all about class. Here's the thing, medieval beauty wasn't just about attraction, it was about power. If you looked beautiful, it proved you were wealthy enough to maintain your looks. If you were pale, it showed you didn't have to labor outside. If you had perfect hair, it meant you could afford servants to take care of it. And because beauty was tied to class, people went to extreme, even deadly, lengths to meet the ideal. It wasn't just, oh, I want to look cute for the ball. It was, if I don't look like this, people might question my status, my morality, or even my worth as a human. The consequences. Lead poisoning from makeup. Hair loss from bleaching. Permanent scars from skin treatments. Starvation diets. Social ostracism for anyone who didn't fit the mold. Medieval beauty was a high-stakes game that only a tiny percentage of people could win, and even they often paid the price with their health. The ironic part. We look back now and think, wow, those beauty standards were ridiculous. But fast forward a few hundred years, and people might say the same about us. We might not be shaving our hairlines for bigger foreheads, but we've got our own toxic trends, literally. People are still bleaching their hair, altering their bodies, and risking their health just to fit a look that changes every decade. It's a reminder that while the specifics of beauty change, the pressure to meet impossible standards kind of never goes away. So next time you scroll past a medieval painting and wonder why the women look so strange, just know that those looks weren't accidents. They were carefully crafted, often painfully maintained, and rooted in a society that judged you by your appearance in ways that could change your entire life. In other words, medieval beauty was brutal, impossible, and, unfortunately, not as far from our world as we'd like to think.